Cops of Reddit, what is the most what the fuck happened here moment you've experienced? One time we got a call about a minor wreck in a highway corridor. We get there, I'm handling the accident. 100 yards down there is a car on flats. And another further down from that. Unrelated to the accident. One of the drivers walked back to us and told us a sketchy guy had been stopping at these cars to offer his help in fixing the flats. The theory was that he threw something on the road to flatten the tires so that he could help and get money from the drivers. I'm stuck at the back end of this mess, on the radio trying to get another unit to detain the shady guy. All of a sudden I look over and there's a guy in nothing but a hospital gown and an M4 hanging out of his arm just tootling along the shoulder. The nearest hospital was several miles away, so I have no idea how he covered that distance with nobody noticing. So here I am with 1. A car wreck, 2. A guy possibly flattening tires on purpose, and 3. An escaped hospital patient. All completely unrelated, on a major highway late at night. I used to be a cop. We got a call from a guy who claimed to be the victim of a robbery and was incapacitated in his home and had only just managed to reach his phone and call us. We arrived to a trailer home that was totally empty except for a man in hardcore fetish gear tied to some sort of sex swing. I mean, there was nothing else in this house except the gimp tied to the sex swing. Nothing, no furniture, not even curtains. Okay dude, what the fuck? Sex gimp. Well, you see, officer, I hired 2 Asian hookers to spank me while I was in the swing. Nothing illegal there, no sexual acts, just some spanking and they'd leave. Well, the girls arrived, tied me to the swing, then, 2 Asian guys showed up, beat the living shit out of me. Then pulled up a U-Haul trailer and stole literally everything that I owned before leaving me hanging here with my cell phone because they said they knew nobody would believe my story anyways, but the cops would probably chase them for a murder. I still don't know if I believe his story, but never found any evidence to suggest that he was lying either. I just didn't find anything at all. I found 3 kids one day running next to a busy highway. The oldest was 5. We finally got them identified and figured out they lived about a mile away. We got there. They were in the care of their adult, 20-ish, sister while their parents were on vacation for 2 weeks. The sister decided she'd rather pop Xanax and smoke weed than deal with the kids, so she locked them in their bedroom for about 10 days, occasionally sliding food and water past the door. There were piss stains on the baseboards in the bedroom from where the kids had decided their bathroom should be. Finally, the 5-year-old had enough and figured out how to unlock the bedroom window and make a break for it. That's nowhere near the darkest stuff I've seen. We don't like to talk about it. Show up to a trouble unknown call. Teenage-looking girl walks out the front door as I arrive, and sits on a chair in the front listening to an iPod. This was pretty disarming for me. She was clearly not distressed at all from whatever the trouble unknown was. I didn't even disturb her as I knocked on the front door. I can see an adult male through the side glass by the door. He has a look of absolute terror. As he reaches the door, a crazed-looking woman attacks him from behind, biting his shoulder like a zombie. I would later learn this is his wife. Holy shit. Dispatch, give me the channel and get me more officers here now. I open the door and the fight is on. Pull this woman off and wrestle her to the ground, face down. She's very small framed, probably 5 foot and 100 pounds max. I'm a foot taller and 80 pounds heavier. She's screaming and flailing. I grab hold of her right arm, attempting to put it behind her back for handcuffing, but she is supernaturally strong for some reason. I've got both hands on her right wrist now trying to control her and she's not giving at all. I try pain compliance, muscle gouges, anything to give me an advantage. No response, still fighting. It felt like this was going on for a long time, but in reality it was a few minutes. Finally backup arrives, and he immediately goes to grab her left arm, seeing what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm finally able to get a handcuff on her wrist and pin it to her back, and my partner cuffs the other wrist, but she slips out, small frame, small hand/wrist. This happened a few times in a row, and finally out of frustration I yelled, just clamp the fucking cuff all the way down, we'll adjust it when she's under control. Finally get her cuffed, but she's still flailing and screaming. Other officers arrive at this point as well as paramedics. They're unable to assess her at all really. The husband tells us they bought some cheap weed from a sketchy dude in town and after smoking it she flipped out. I assume it was laced with something. He said he smoked too but didn't have a reaction, so who knows. We had to drive this lady up to the hospital in a patrol car. She calmed down a little but the entire ride she was rambling about nonsense. The hospital was prepared and had several large nurses waiting and we got her strapped down to a bed. I told the staff about the weed and said good luck. When my adrenaline was gone, my forearms were so sore, they felt like rocks from fighting with this tiny woman. Moral of the story, don't smoke shit you bought from the town crackhead. Late to the party but my favorite so far has got to be the tale of the UFO or aliens. I was a cop on the res for a while and had my fair share of crazies. One night, I'm out driving around and I get a call from dispatch. There's a UFO out in one of the farmers' fields. Okay? So I get to the house and talk with the guy. We know each other, he doesn't seem to be that loony. I turn my spotlight onto said field and sure as shit, there's something not quite right there. It's metal and shit. So I go bebopping through the froze and hoping my scarediness isn't showing because this is freaky. It was an autumn night with the wind howling and clouds blowing overhead. I get closer. I have one hand on my holstered gun and the other shining my flashlight. I was rehearsing what I was going to say to our new overlords and then my brain finally clicks as to what the fuck it actually was. A wad of those stupid mylar balloons. All blown up and caught on some weeds. I'm talking like 20 of those fuckers, just chilling and scaring the shit out of me. I grabbed them and walked back out to the farmer. He started laughing and then I did too. I handed them over to him and got back in my squad, still shaking. The sad part was, he passes away a few years ago, and his family gave me those deflated balloons that he had kept. I have them in my basement now. A friend of mine is a cop in the UK and his story is more WTF as he saw it unfold, but missed how it all started. It was his first week out on patrol and he was assigned to an experienced partner. They respond to a burglary in progress and are told that a nearby dog unit was on the scene already. When they arrive at the property they hear a commotion outside that's clearly between an officer and a suspect, and they open the garden gate to assist the dog unit. What they then witness is a suspect face down on the grass, an officer stamping on the suspect's back whilst holding his arm up near her hip and shouting "Stop resisting," and the police dog absolutely going to town on this guy's buttocks with his teeth. The suspect is, unsurprisingly, struggling and resisting and then ends up kicking the dog. The dog then latches onto the guy's leg, starts ferociously tugging, pulls it off and then runs towards the new cops on the scene with it. It turns out that was a false leg, which no one except the suspect knew at the time, and my buddy the cop said he just froze whilst trying to figure out how the hell he calls this in and whether or not he should retrieve the man's leg from the police dog. Not me but my dad, but when he was on the road years back he got a call from a man saying he was locked in someone's closet. So he goes to the location of the call, which was a project housing unit, and knocks on the door. A man answered exclaiming, "I caught one. I caught one." My dad had absolutely no idea what this dude means until he opens up the closet and sees a dwarf tied up in the closet. Apparently the dwarf was going door to door for some organization, and when the psycho dude opened his door he thought he found a leprechaun and proceeded to catch it and throw it in his closet for safekeeping. My dad told me the one time he went to a house and a woman pulled something out of her shopping bag and started hitting him with it. He's trying to stop her but the other officers are all laughing. Finally he realizes that she's beating him with a dildo.